let me say this, get those books right away because they will be gone from the library. Go ahead and put a hold on them, secure them now. If you're going to order some of these books from places such as thriftbooks.com or AbeBooks, go ahead and order them so you can preview them for yourself and make a decision for your family. Hello and welcome back to Homeschooling Through High School. Today we're going to go over a long list of Black history books that you can use starting today and throughout the month of February into the rest of the year. Now, let me say this disclaimer. I've read many of these books and some I'm in the process of reading. The books, ages, and grades are only suggestions. So choose what is best for each child, their reading level, their maturity, and your personal household dynamic. All right, now, there's no judgment here. If you find it difficult to read any of these books aloud to your kids or to hand it out over, try another source like an audiobook. Many you can get free from the library. Some of you have online resources for audiobooks. Use that. There's no judgment, no shame. I'll be sharing some of the books that I will be using as an audiobook instead of reading it aloud myself here in this video. So one thing that I would encourage you to do is flip to the back of the book. Some of these books have vocabulary words and their definitions in the back, and it would be a great source for you to read the vocabulary words to the children before you start the book. Consider using a study guide or a literature guide or a lesson plan as well. There are so many resources, so many homeschooling moms that have made their own resource guides for many, many different topics. Consider using one of that to help guide you along with some of these books as well. I'm going to flip the camera around so we can get started.
All right, so let's start with 3 reference books. This book is a timeline, and here is what it says on the back. One thing to note about this book is that it does talk about evolution, so be mindful of that if that is what you are looking for or not looking for. All right, so it does highlight that. I like how this looks like an infographic design. This is a very big picture here. All right, that's on one page, and then here's the other page. But this is a good reference book that you can utilize. Another reference book. This one is very thick. Okay. And it's just an accessible guide to milestones in Black history, culture, and society across the globe. And it brings it into present day. Now, I believe this one as well talks about evolution in the beginning, so you might want to be mindful of that as well. Okay. This book is on my shelf. It includes a removable history timeline, and it talks about heroes and heroines and critical moments in African American history. Lillians' Right to Vote. This is one of my top picks for all ages. As Lillian, a 100-year-old African woman, makes a long haul up a steep hill to her polling place, she sees more than trees and skies. She sees her family's history. This is one woman's account of a fierce determination to make it up a hill to make sure that her voice is heard. I highly recommend this book. Alright, so for Ruby Bridges, I would strongly suggest that you watch the movie as a family, you read the book as a family. This book here that I have is for younger kids, but there are so many for older kids. The year is 1960, and 6-year-old Ruby Bridges and her family have recently moved to Mississippi in search of a better life. And see what it says here on this page. Please, God, try to forgive those people, because even if they say those bad things, they don't know what they're doing. So you could forgive them, just like you did those folks a long time ago when they said terrible things about you. She is trying to attend first grade at William Frantz Elementary School. It's an all-white school, but most people don't want her there. Highly recommend the movie and the book. Henry's Freedom Box. This is a good one to find a lesson plan on, or to even do a project on. So the project would be to give your kids a box and have them put items of importance in it. And so this is a dramatic story of a slave who actually mails himself to freedom. All right, he doesn't know how old he is. Nobody during that time really kept certain records of slaves' birthdays, but he dreams about freedom. So one day, he lifts a crate at the warehouse, and you'll have to read the book for the rest of it. Henry's Freedom Box. Ruth and the Green Book. Well, this is one that is quite interesting that I learned about this green book just a few years ago. So this is told through the perspective of a young girl traveling south with her parents to visit relatives and wanting to do some stops along the way to find out, places where they're welcome and they can have some fun and they can be safe in the land of Jim Crow. And a green book came about as a result of it. So you can actually view a copy of this green book online, and I will put that in the description box below. Very, very cool story how a green book was used to help Black travelers find hotels and restaurants and businesses where they could actually be served. Ruth and the Green Book. Don't Touch My Hair and Hair Love. Now, let's start with Hair Love. This book has 17,000 reviews on Amazon. I believe the ratings are 4.6 and higher, and it is about a father learning to find a cool hairstyle for his daughter. He loves everything about her, including her hair, and he'll do anything to make her happy. This would be a perfect Father's Day gift too as well. This was also created into a mini film, and so you can actually find that on YouTube. Very, very cool story. Hair Love. And then I have Don't Touch My Hair. So it seems like wherever Aria goes, everybody wants to touch her fluffy curls. It doesn't matter where she goes. And so this is a story about her having enough, but also making people realize that her hair is lovely and it has a story to tell. All right? Don't touch my hair. Sisters and Champions. Tennis is just a game. Serena says, family is forever. Yes, this is about the famous Williams sisters, competitors, teammates, record breakers, epic athletes, and they are sisters. So this tells a triumphant story of them, and I think this would be a good one to add to the list. And also watch some of their tennis matches. They're really good. This is pretty impressive. And so if you ever enjoyed playing with any type of water gun, formerly known as a super soaker, or wondered how it was invented, you are going to enjoy this book. This is a great book for boys. Great book for boys. Lonnie Johnson was a creative thinker, and his perseverance paid off. The story goes that he actually made this water gun or super soaker by accident. Eventually, he worked for NASA, and he also helped Hasbro with cutting-edge innovations with its Nerf line. And at the back of this book, we have this flip out here, and just a cool story. I will also link in the description box Lonnie Johnson's website so you can learn more about him. Hidden Figures. Before John Glenn orbited the Earth or Neil Armstrong walked on the moon, there was a group of female mathematicians known as human computers. They used pencils and rulers and atom machines to calculate all sorts of stuff to help with different aspects in space. So I have two books here for you, one for a younger audience, one for an older audience, about these four African American ladies: Dorothy Vaughan, Mary Jackson, Kathleen Johnson, and Christine Darden. They lived through the Civil Rights era, the space race, and the Cold War. And their faces will now be known in NASA for their work. Don't forget to watch the movie. It's exceptional, exceptional, exceptional. Gifted Hands, the Ben Carson story, revised kids edition. Now, this is a story of a man who was an inner city kid, and he was actually what you might call just not so smart, I guess we'll say. And he became a pediatric neurosurgeon. I think this would be a great book for middle school into high school, and to learn about this gentleman, which many of you have probably heard of, Dr. Ben Carson. History Smashers. So I would say that this definitely would be one for middle school into high school. Alright, the History Smashers books I find to be quite intriguing, actually. There's a lot of information that is accurately given in comparison maybe to what you have read, and so I think this would be a great book. This is what it says on the back. Brown Girl Dreaming. So this one I'm choosing to use with all the kids as an audiobook. However, we are going to get the books from the library and follow along. It's just the power of poetry as a way of connecting with kids, especially when it comes to history. And so I think that it will just be great for us to do it as a follow along with the audiobook. And this is a memoir that tells the vivid story of the author, Jacqueline Woodson, and her childhood in the 1960s and 70s, living with the remnants of Jim Crow, and she gives her perspective on the civil rights movement. I've heard excellent things about this book, and I just can't wait to dive into it. It's 1936 in Flint, Michigan. Times are hard, but 10-year-old Bud might be motherless, but he is going to hit the road and find his father. It is a comical story. It is rich. It is sad. It has hope. We all love it, and I tell you that listening to it via audiobook is the way to go. So, Bud Not Buddy, highly suggested. There's nothing that can stop this kid. I really think you will enjoy it. Schomburg, the man who built a library. His life passion was to collect books, letters, music, and art from Africa and the African diaspora and bring to light the achievements of people of African descent. When his collection became so large that it threatened to overflow his house, he turned to the New York Public Library. The boy who harnessed the wind. So a drought struck a tiny village in Malawi, and his family lost all of the season's crops, leaving them with nothing to eat and nothing to sell. So William began to explore science books in his village library, looking for a solution. This book is retold for a younger audience, and it shows how, even in desperate situations, one boy came up with a brilliant idea to change and light up the world. When stars are scattered. Even though Black History Month started in the US, it's still important to learn about the contributions of Black people globally. So this National Book Award finalist and graphic novel represents a very current story about the life of immigrants. The book is about a pair of brothers in a refugee camp in Kenya and explores questions like, what is it like to be in a refugee camp? And what is it like to move to a different place for safety and for your family? A spy called James. This is the true story of James Lafayette, Revolutionary War double agent. Heart and Soul. This book discusses the history of African Americans from colonial days through the Civil Rights Movement. Narrative of the life of Frederick Douglass. There are lesson plans for this. There are literature guides for this. And on YouTube, there is a condensed narrative by his descendants that are reading it, and it is worth the watch. After Lola reads a book of garden poems, she wants to plant some flowers. So this is just a cute book of Lola and her mom and the flowers that they are going to plant in the garden. For most children these days, it would come as a shock to know that before 1967, they could not marry a person of a race different from their own. This was the case for Mildred Loving and Richard Perry Loving and their 3 children, and how they fought against the state laws for their interracial marriage. Amos Fortune, free man. These were the words of Amos Fortune, born the son of a king in the Atmunshi tribe in Africa. When Amos was only 15 years old, he was captured by slave traders and brought to Massachusetts, where he was sold at auction. By the time he was 60 years old, Amos Fortune began to see his dreams of freedom come true. So I have 2 books here on Ona Judge, or Oni Judge, as her original name is noted. And in these books, it talks about the life of Ona Judge from her childhood to her time with the Washingtons and living in the slave quarters until her escape to New Hampshire. This one is written in poetic form, so this would be a good, quick read aloud for your young listeners and readers. This one is for little older children. This has 26 chapters. No pictures, but what I do like about this, it has a lot of information in the back. I'll also link a website where you can look at documents from that time period. Ona Judge. Mama did you hear the news? Mama, did you hear the news? This book talks about the talk. In this book, the parents decide to teach the brothers what to do if stopped by a police officer, and also emphasizes that not all police officers are bad. So we have 2 books here written about Misty Copeland. One she actually wrote, and the other one is the young reader's version. Misty Copeland is a biracial girl, now a young lady, and in these books she talks about her fight and her determination to make sure that she can reach the same heights as the other girls do in the field of ballet. All right, so let's flip through this one.